Well, hi, friends. Thanks for joining this week. I have my friend coming back. I love having him on here, Terence. And I say this every time, if you're not already following him on Instagram and TikTok and on YouTube, and now you've had to change the name. So now I always get mixed up. It was at Chronicles of Bravo, but now it's Bravo Chronicles, correct?
That's correct. Hi, Caitlin. Thanks for having me again. Yes, I was Chronicles of Bravo on TikTok, but then I was banned. Thank you, Jen Shah, who's now in prison. And I'm now Bravo Chronicles on TikTok, but on Instagram, I'm still Chronicles of Bravo. If you just type in Chronicles Bravo, you'll find me, or Bravo Chronicles, I'll
Exactly.
come up. Yeah,
And he has a podcast that you absolutely have to go listen to.
thank you.
It's educational and it's
It's
fun.
I'm still learning my way. As you know, there's been a few mishaps along the way. Here's looking at you audio issues and syncing problems. But yes,
Oh, I
it's still
know.
a new thing that I'm doing, throwing myself into it. But I'm absolutely loving it.
And you're doing a fantastic job at it, if I
Thank you,
do say
Caitlin.
so myself.
Thank
Um,
you.
so also, we'll just go ahead and do all of our plugs here. Check out bestiesbybravo.com. I have some merch, and I am going to have a code for this podcast that will be good for the next 10 days, which, depending on if I release this today, the day of, or recording on Sunday, um, we'll say it could be 11 days or 10 days. It's going to end on the 4th of May. And the code is going to be Chronicles, CHRONICLES, for 20% off the merch on there. I've been designing it myself and having fun designing it. So y'all check that out. And then also go on Amazon. Terrence has a really fun book that it is a Real Housewives game book, and it's called But Now We Said It. And it's a game of who said it, and it's just every Housewives quote beyond ones I forgot. And it's brilliant and it's so fun. I have it like on a shelf above my bed. It's if you ever see my TikToks, if I'm sitting on the bed, you'll see your book behind me there.
Thank you, Caitlin. And I must say that I love the fact that my TikTok handle Chronicles is like in a promo code. I think that's absolutely fantastic, and I feel honored. So, like, please go to
Please.
bestiesbybravo.com and use the Chronicles promo code at checkout for 20% off. I love
Yes,
it.
do
Yeah.
it. So we've done all of our promotion, our shameless self promotion, because it's we do this stuff because we love it, honestly, and we
We
just want to
do. Thank
share.
God for the housewives and Bravo.
I mean, it's so funny. I sometimes, and I'm sure you know what I mean by this. There are times where I'm sitting there and I'm like, God, some there will be some days where it's just not gaining traction, or I feel like all of the stuff I do with this, and I'm like, do I really? Am I enjoying this? And I will go back and remember. I remember times when I would cut the cord on cable and I couldn't get Bravo. And that was the number one thing. The only reason I wanted cable instead of using like the Apple TV and stuff back
Yeah.
when, it wasn't quite what it is now. And
Yeah.
it was always like I just wanted to be able to watch Bravo. And now I'm like, no, it all goes so
It,
deep. I love
it
it.
goes so deep. And it's been part of our lives for so, so many years. We have invested so much time into the storylines of these, what, Bravo celebrities over the
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, we have, and
Yeah.
because it's we could go on for days, but
Yeah.
it's we do have lives, but this is our
We do. Yes. And someone said to me the other day on one of my TikTok videos, was like, you need to get a life. And I was like, excuse me, like I am living my life and this is just part of it, you know? At least I'm not
exactly.
troll at least I'm not trolling people on social media, you know, and I'm providing like entertainment. Come on.
And education, okay?
And thank
I
you,
will
Caitlin.
stand by
Yes.
that. It is
Yes.
educational.
Actually, Cara Alloway from the Real Housewives of Toronto commented on one of my Instagram videos the other day, and she was like, "You really need to be teaching like Housewives history at Oxford." And I was like, "I
Yes,
know, I absolutely should be."
you do. I really think that because listen, they've done classes on like Cardi B and things like that. This could
True
easily
that.
and
Yeah,
should be.
yeah,
It should
yeah,
be.
yeah.
These women absolutely should be studied.
I need to start. I need to start pitching to some UK universities. Let me tell you.
You should.
There's
I'm
one
not
thing I can
kidding.
do. There's one thing I can do, Caitlin. It's a good pitch. Like, I give me an
Yes.
idea and I can pitch it.
Yes. You will be well researched and have all the information that they could possibly need.
That's it. That's it.
Speaking of well researched, friends, we have some Bravo news. Mostly just gossip. So the New Jersey reunion was filmed on Thursday. Gosh.
New Jersey. Oh, God. I'm so sick of Teresa and Melissa. I can't tell you.
I and you are not alone.
No,
I don't know. I thought this season was going to be something it is
me
not.
too. Yeah, me too. I was so excited seeing the photos last year of their cast trip to Ireland. And, we have a mutual friend, PK, Andy Cohen's bestie on
Yes.
TikTok and Instagram. So I was so excited to see them like going to Ireland. And it's just
Yeah.
been like, I think that trip's like what, almost over or over? They're coming back? Like,
Mm-hmm.
did it happen? Like, it's just been, I was telling you this earlier, Caitlin, but I think I spend half my time watching New Jersey scrolling my phone or fast forwarding.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just the same recycled shit presented in a different way.
It is. It really is. You know, it's like I think the whole thing leading up to this, we were like, "Oh my God, this is going to
Hello.
be so
There you are.
intense." Oh, did I lose you? Yeah. We were just kind of like, "This is going to be so intense."
Yeah.
We're thinking that because of the wedding drama and all of that, but I don't know, man. The gossip I was hearing, and I don't know what else to call it, but gossip, just like the
Mm.
little games of telephone happening throughout the Bravoverse, of that coming up for the reunion, that maybe it was going to be that Dolores and Teresa were going to have some issues that were going to be
Yeah.
surprising. But after the Watch What Happens Live that Melissa did with, who was she with? Cecily Strong, I believe, from SNL. And not only was she not seated next to Andy, because the housewives always are seated next to Andy,
Mm.
uh, she and Andy were like going back and forth. If y'all
Yes,
haven't seen it,
yeah,
watch
I
it.
saw that. Yeah. It was a
Like,
very weird dynamic that night.
yeah, it was awkward.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing rumblings that they're doing a cast shakeup. But also that they are asking everyone back. But what are they going to do if we cannot possibly get another season of Melissa and Joe versus Teresa?
No, it's it was when we first saw it in the first early seasons of New Jersey, it was authentic, it was new, we hadn't seen this before, so we were invested.
Yeah.
And over the years where they found peace, it's like we've been part of that. Teresa went to jail, we were invested, it was emotional for all of us.
Yes.
And it's just the last few seasons. I mean, there's been some great moments in the couple of seasons before this season, but overall, it's just been the same running theme of like Marge versus Jennifer, Jackie versus Teresa, Teresa versus Melissa. It's just been the same continuous stuff, but just presented to us in a different way. And
Yeah.
I'm over it, And Teresa's been around for a long time, but the thing with Teresa is after her prison season, when she was all like namaste and, there was a bit of growth and like
Mm.
change, it just seems like Teresa's mentality will never shift. There will never be like emotional intelligence growth, if that makes sense. So it just makes it boring. Whereas Candy in Atlanta, for many years, we've seen like an evolution of Candy. But Teresa, it's been like the Evo. It hasn't gone further than like, oh,
Yeah.
Evo.
Yeah, I mean, she is the snake eating itself. It's just,
That's it.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, because there's no other way. Like every move, when you think she's going to go on an upward trajectory, she makes lateral moves, is what it ends up
That's it.
being.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like she,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to Louis and things like that.
Oh,
Um, you
Louis.
know, and from what I heard, Teresa was like a maniac at the reunion, just going. I mean, really going in. And I mean, at this point, now here's something that if this is true, I'm going to say I would have lost my ever loving mind too, because one, I cannot stand when they keep bringing the kids into it. Now, Gia is the only one that's old enough that I'm like, okay, if she wants to be in the mix, she wants to be paid by
She could make a
production.
decision. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, this is all alleged. We're going to have to see it play out. But what I am hearing and reading is that Joe Gorga said that Gia called him about 3 or 4 days before Teresa's wedding. Yeah. And that she said, wow, now I'm forgetting the exact words because I know what she says she actually said. Oh, yeah. She said that he claims that when Gia called him, she said, you should not have married Melissa or you need to leave Melissa. And
Yeah.
it got to the point where at the reunion, Andy even calls Gia, who's been at Coachella this last weekend, or this weekend. It is the weekend still. What day is it? Okay. Mercury
Okay.
retrograde. And she was like, no, absolutely not. I called him to say, can you please come to my mother's wedding? Now, I believe that. And if Joe Gorga did actually claim in confessional that Gia called him and said, "You shouldn't have married Melissa. You need to leave Melissa." That's shitty because I don't see Gia doing that. Just from everything we've gathered, I mean, Teresa has raised some amazing girls. That is something we can say
I
about
agree with
her.
that. Yeah.
Those
Agreed.
girls are amazing.
Yeah.
Through trauma. I mean, they had to grow up very quickly.
Yes, I totally
But
agree with that.
that's a little weird. And I guess Frank Sr. goes after Louis. And part of that is that Joe Gorgas, and this is all alleged, friends, Joe Gorgas claims that Frankie Jr. had called him complaining about when he was working for Louis. But in the end, someone messaged Frankie and said, is this true on Instagram? And he was like, no, I learned a lot of great stuff, ended up going on to a different firm, like carried all of that I, learned and moved on. So it's a little weird, but from truly what I'm hearing, Big Frank actually takes a stance against Louis, which is surprising. So
very surprising. Yeah, I'm interested to see how the reunion plays out, for maybe a hot minute, and then I'm going to be like, okay, so we're just reverting to the same old shit, basically last year's reunion. It's really frustrating because I see what Teresa has raised some really lovely girls, level-headed girls who are focused on finding a bright pathway to a good future. And I think Joe and Melissa, it's difficult because my disdain for Teresa is so great that I don't champion Melissa or Joe in any capacity, but for me, they're the lesser of two evils, if that makes sense.
Great way to put it.
For me, I think the worst thing Melissa's done is like build a really shitty house, and now have to like redo the whole thing because it looks so shit from the outside.
Yeah, those Dementor chandeliers. They could have been kind of pretty.
Yeah, and one thing I think that I really see in Melissa this season is that she looks over it. And if that means walking away from the show, I think she's now at the point where she is happy to do that. If she doesn't have to rehash the same old shit with Teresa, she just looks completely over ever entertaining the idea of a reconciliation for now,
Yeah. I think it's hard because for Melissa, she always wanted to be like a celebrity and be a singer and be, so for her, this is her only way of doing it. Yeah, exactly.
Because no one is going to buy her music. So she, it's kind of has to be on a television show.
Yeah. I mean, she's not an untalented singer. Okay. She's not Kim Zolciak. Okay. So it's not as though, she doesn't have the talent, but it's like, what can we say? It's because apparently also Teresa is saying to her over and over, we're done after this. This is it. We're done. And I also read that Melissa walked off the set. But
yes, I saw that.
Yeah, I heard Jennifer was pretty chill and quiet, which is weird. It was filmed
maybe
on
she was
420.
Maybe she was smoking some indica.
Hey, do whatever you got to do, man.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but I love the stoned Jennifer. I love that she is like openly like, I have a joint every night. I love this.
Listen. I have one child, and if I had 5 and 16 bathrooms, yes, I would be smoking a joint absolutely every night.
Absolutely, yeah, no doubt about it.
Because the thing is, Jennifer is actually so funny. I don't like it when she and Marge both have this ability to be so nasty and mean. And just go so low, and I don't so like deep. That Jennifer.
Yeah, they're both awful to each other.
Oh my God, beyond reason. Oh, and also, did you see that Teresa and Tamra Judge are feuding, by the way?
And you know what? And my favorite thing, because I listened to the Tamra and Teddy Two Teas in a Pod podcast where they spoke about that. And when Tamra is like, not today, jailbird, I was just like, I fucking love that, not today, jailbird.
I mean, she really went in. She was like,
no, but I listened.
Tamra.
Yeah, I listened to that episode with Teresa and the co-host of Namaste and Brandy, and Teresa was like, she wouldn't let it go. She was just continuously trying to tell Brandy how awful of a friend Tamra was. It was just like, Teresa, let it go, love.
Exactly. Let it go.
Let it go.
It was weird, right?
Can't imagine co-hosting a podcast with Teresa. Jesus, it's just dealing like with hummus. Like, I couldn't deal with it.
No. I mean, she does give some really great sound bites on her podcast.
It's Teresa. Yeah.
Yeah.
But to work with her, no thanks.
No, I'm good.
No.
Again,
Right,
I would
you.
work with her youngest daughter over her, and I mean that in the sense that I would imagine her youngest daughter would have, a teenager would have more professionalism probably, but I'm sorry. Yeah. Part of me feels a certain way. I don't even know why, because I got for, Jessie Nails.
Yes.
If you Reality Witch, y'all follow her too and listen to her podcast. I've had her on so many times. And for her birthday, I got her a cameo from Melania. And so
I love that.
It was so of course it endeared me to her. This is my problem. This way everyone's been asking me randomly, are you trying to get Housewives or anyone on your podcast? And I'm like, I don't know. I think I need people who aren't on anymore, because my problem is as soon as I meet someone, I just end up liking them.
Yes, yeah. I see what you mean.
I need to keep my opinions real.
No, completely. I know what you mean. It's very difficult when you get to, when you're engaged with a housewife and then you need to talk about her, in an honest way. Yeah.
Yes. And
experienced that a couple of times. It's hard.
Yeah. Listen, y'all, Terence, his podcast, you've had it up and running for maybe a month. And I would say, and he's already had a Real Housewife on there, y'all. I'm telling you, you need to go check it out. He should have been doing this already, but I think I'm glad you're doing it now.
Thank you.
Okay. More into a little bit of dingbat news. James and Allie from Vanderpump Rules might be engaged.
I mean,
wow.
Honestly,
we're not surprised, are we?
No, it was always going to happen. I did think that maybe someone would get in his head about deterring him off that idea for a while, just because he also spent so much fucking money on engaging to the Bambi-eyed bitch, Rachel, couple of whenever that shit was. But, the more I see of Ali, the more she just reminds me of Rachel when she was having her first few confessionals, maybe a little bit more outspoken, a little bit more firm with James, but still
I find Ali more authentic.
Yes, yeah, completely more authentic, and maybe less like Cheetah, maybe less like Mistress vibes. But yeah, I think, and less of an idiot, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. But I do think that because the news has just been so hardcore with Vanderpump over the last month since whenever it broke, that I just want to get to that stuff now on the show. I just want to get there. We've seen a lot of the clips, we've heard a lot of the cast perspectives, we listened to a lot of their podcasts. So it's almost like we'll discuss later in Ultimate Girls Trip. It's like we're seeing stuff that we already heard of before, we're in Ultimate Girls Trip, we're watching them rehash stuff that we've already kind of seen at reunions or on their seasons. So it's like we've heard all of their perspectives now on podcasts and stuff. Obviously there's stuff they've not been able to say, but by the time we get to the episodes, it's just so much time is going to have been passed. So I just want to get to it now,
yes. Yeah, exactly. And I'll say, I've said this before, that I think what Bravo needs to do, because this is part of what the issue I felt was with Beverly Hills last year, when it just kept going on and on and on. Yeah, and at least with this, we'll actually get to the bottom of it from what it sounds like. But Beverly Hills, we never did. And it was like a 4-part reunion or something. I remember Atlanta started at the same time as Beverly Hills, and it was well over before Beverly Hills even finished the reunion. Yeah. And so, I think, yeah, it just was so long. And so I think what Vanderpump, they need to do with this, and Bravo needs to have something, a kind of a plan in place when something happens off camera. They just need, they need to learn from this and make plans, because they should release all of the episodes for the rest of the season. And then if they want to make us wait until whenever they would have normally ended up releasing the first part of the reunion or the finale, the new finale episode, fine, or just move it up by a week. But we're going to be tired of it, I'm afraid, by the time we get there.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll have the scandal fatigue.
Yes. I've been saying Scandoval has both gifted us and robbed us at the same time, because now we're it's like, you could see the same. This is the way the human brain works. We could see the most gorgeous sunset we've ever seen in our life, but then we could see the exact same sunset that was the most gorgeous one we'd ever seen in our lives yesterday. And our brain it's not going to be good enough anymore. And we're going to want a more gorgeous sunset. We're going to want more and more. So that's now what?
Yeah, that's it. Like, someone better do some crazy shit next season to keep us invested, you know? Like, I want Rachel sleeping with Ken, you know? That's where I want this to go, you know? We need some good shit now. Imagine that shit.
No, she'd break his hip or something. She's like, oh my God, that scares me. Okay. So, oh yeah, we're gonna need something. Or maybe, and this is the also, I'm scared for Vanderpump Rules because I don't want the Salt Lake City treatment to happen, which is we were all like, oh my God, mind blown about the Jen Shaw thing.
Yeah.
And then now what the hell are we doing?
What
we
the fuck?
spent an
That's
entire
it.
season talking about a black eye and some of Girls Trip.
Completely. I completely agree with that. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Unless I've missed something, let's go ahead and jump into Girls Trip. And I'm just going to say, I said this on my last podcast. I'm still so devastated. I got invited to such a fun event that it was in New York City. It was actually on Tuesday, but I found out about it like less than a week before. And it was to watch an early screening of the Girls Trip finale and go like to the spa thing and do all this. And it was so hard to like reschedule everything, you know, with toddler and all of that.
Everything.
And
Life.
then I found out Portia was there.
Oh, yes, I
and
saw that. She surprised them. Yes.
I'm not gonna lie, I like almost teared up. I was so mad I didn't try and harder. I mean, I tried
Imagine
hard,
that. Being surprised by Portia. Like, how incredible.
I'm devastated.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be talking about this for a while. I'm gonna let it go for now though. Here's, you know, I'm gonna start by saying I was not overly excited for this cast of Girls Trip because what's interesting is I had wanted Candace and Giselle to be on a Girls Trip together. I just want to start with this. I had been dying for there to be a Girls Trip where the theme, and I think this is what it originally was supposed to possibly be, one or the other, because it's a weird mix. I really want one that's a frenemies cast where we get Tinsley and Sonia, and I wanted Candace and Giselle. Originally, this was before we knew more about the Jen Shaw stuff. I wanted Jen Shaw and Lisa Barlow.
That would be great.
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember there was someone else that I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but or Dolores and Jennifer Aiden. And I think if we got this would have been ultimate, but I also said Nene and Portia. So that to me would have been like, right?
Gold. Yeah.
I know you've said something like this, but who is your like ultimate that if you could put together
So I would love to have a villains cast, like a Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip villains, but I would absolutely throw in some internationals. Like I don't know, Caitlin, the extent of your like international franchise watching, but like there's a couple of girls from Melbourne and Sydney that are just like top tier that put some of the US villains to absolute shame. Like the kind of villain that I think we will grow to love over the next few years is Lisa Barlow. I think you also love Lisa Barlow.
I do.
But she for me is just like top tier housewife. I would
Barlow
love to have
over here.
absolutely. I would love to have Lisa Barlow. I would love to have Lisa Vanderpump because I think she could have an iconic villain era if she embraced that villainous side of her.
Yes.
Because it is there, and I would quite like to see a Lisa Rinna versus Lisa Vanderpump like update, like a new version of those two, because I know there is some deep rooted history with them.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I love the Ultimate Girls Trip concept. I think it's fantastic. I love to see the fourth wall being broken. I love to hear their perspectives on filming the show. I thought it was really interesting when Leah said that, because we've known about Roni for so long, that they were having a rebooted cast. It was announced last year at BravoCon already. They've already finished filming season 1. So to now watch it when Leah said she didn't know what was going on, if she was going to be back for another season or if they were canceling the show, that just reminds us of how long ago they filmed this.
Yeah. A long time.
They filmed this ages ago. Yeah.
And that's the thing with this is like, so I'll also start with just reminding everyone who we've got on this one. We have Leah from the final two seasons of our golden show, Roni. I
Housewives of
just,
New York.
mm-hmm.
Our
And
true
then
stars.
yes,
Mm.
I mean, the days, there is nothing that will top season 9 Roni for me when
Oh,
they all went
like
to Mexico.
yeah, 6 to 11 was just incredible.
Yes, and it was everything we want in Housewives. Yes, there was infighting, but they also could go have so much
They,
fun together, and they were
yeah.
so fun to watch having fun.
And like the
Ugh,
boat trip
it was
from hell was just like the best thing, one of the best things that ever graced our television screens. It was just so beautiful. It was like a moving painting, the whole thing.
yes,
you
it
know?
was. Hang it in the Louvre.
Honestly, it was just I would watch that scene on loop. But
Yes.
yeah, I am excited for the reboot. I think the new wives they look like an interesting group of women. I think the dynamics are potentially quite interesting, but
Hmm.
we are really what's the word? We are connected to our OG New York housewives.
Yes.
I'm glad to hear that Ramona is potentially coming back for like a Ultimate Girls Trip version of
Yeah.
Roni Legacy,
Hmm.
because I think she is needed. I would also have
Hmm.
an expectation that Bethany would entertain joining that as well, just
From
because
what I
it's an
hear, she
Ultimate
is.
Girls Trip. It's not a full. Love it, Bethany. You do
She
that. You
wants a
sign
lot
on
of
that
money.
line. You get that money and you turn up.
Girl, you have plenty of money. You know what? Get that money and donate all of that money because you have
That's it.
so
You
much you
have
don't even know what to
enough.
do with it.
Yeah, yeah, true that.
Go donate to after school programs. And then just really work for it, okay? I would
Yeah.
love that. Um so then we also have Portia that obviously we just spoke about her Real Housewives of Atlanta. I think Portia was a fantastic housewife when she was one, and
Mm-hmm.
I watched her spinoffs and I enjoyed them, for the most part, but it's sometimes it's hard for me when I see family fighting. I think is like I don't because that's so like it's so deep rooted and it's so nuanced that as a viewer it's hard to know why so many things run so deep as opposed to when it's friendship fighting, I guess.
Yes, but we also love the housewives because they are housewives. So spin-offs
Mhm.
don't always equal success because they're not in that housewives environment.
Mhm.
Their reactions are not the same as they would be if they were surrounded by housewives rather than their family. So for
Exactly.
me, the dynamic of a spin-off, you don't necessarily get the person that you grew to love in the franchise. But I said this in my deep dive on Portia that I posted the other day, like her background and
Mm.
career. But Portia has had one
Oh
of
yeah.
if not the best evolution of a person on Bravo TV,
Yes.
like from where she was when she joined the Housewives franchise to where she is now. Even if you take Simon out of the equation, but just her own self development and how she
Mhm.
made the moves to get to where she is now and what she has now, it's because of her and the
Yeah.
steps that she took. And it's just incredible. If we go back to those early seasons, I remember the Underground Railroad. I
Yes,
mean,
that's what I was.
look at her now, like being an activist, like talking for a whole community of people, and just it's just incredible seeing
Mhm.
where she is.
It is. I mean, who could forget when she thought the Underground Railroad was an actual train.
I mean, disaster.
God bless her. But the thing is, you are absolutely right, and I loved watching that video that you put up because she she really has changed, from
Incredible, the growth.
yeah, from
Yeah.
being the Portia that was like g- a bit violent and aggressive toward people sometimes
Yeah.
whenever someone would be aggressive toward her as well, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
She didn't ever do anything unprovoked, but I don't think anyone could provoke her as easily as she has been provoked in the past.
Mm,
Because
mm,
I mean, she's just so pretty. My God. It's like
beautiful. Yeah.
she's so gorgeous. And I mean, I loved seeing her and Candace. I can't believe we've never had them together before. It did make me kind of sad, how Candace was like, I saw when Atlanta first came out, and I forget I think a lot of us forget how long certain franchises have been around.
I've been around, yeah.
Yes, especially Atlanta.
Yeah.
Atlanta was one of my very favorites from the beginning. Something about it just drew you in. And so, Candace mentioning, she thought when she saw Atlanta Housewives that it was going to be this group of aspirational Black women, and you were going to get a really great peek into their lives, and she had really thought she was going to get along with Portia. And
No.
it's hard when there are two stars in a room. That's also what's hard about these girls trips, is like you have your A players and your B players within each show, and that's the way it works. Just even scripted stuff, you have to have the A and B, and it's tough when you get that many A players together. That's where they also have to really think hard with the casting, I would think, with this stuff. I mean, all we want are a bunch of A players, but it's interesting
Absolutely.
to see who isn't as alpha, I guess I would say.
And what I think was hilarious is that, like, I think Alexia seems to put her in the bucket of like an A player, but it's like, Alexia, you're not an A player. Like your show was cancelled. It was it was cancelled. Like, and then it was rebooted, so it doesn't necessarily make you like an A player. And she kept talking about how like they were the only one. They were the ones that have been around for one of the longest. And it's like, well, you were away for 5 years.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, I said this a while ago, and now I see everyone saying it, but Teresa Giudice and Alexia are the same person.
It's ridiculous.
It is the same.
Yeah. And Alexia and Marisol, I think, saying on their podcast that they like weren't going to film with Alexia and they didn't want to film with Alexia. It's like, there's a reason, Adriana, sorry.
Yeah.
There's a reason why your show was cancelled. Like, so you can't do these things. Like, you have to form new alliances. You have to move on. You can't refuse to film with people. Like, that's going to be the downfall of Miami if you make those decisions,
And
I
Miami
hope
was so good.
I hope there's a fucking producer in their ear being like, do not do that. You have to film with Adriana.
Yeah, and you know what? Guess what? There are pictures circulating. Alexia and Adriana were filming together over the weekend.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, good.
Yeah.
That is a relief. Okay, good.
Yes, and I know people have very strong opinions about Teddy Mellencamp. I don't know why I like her. I don't have a problem with her.
I like Teddy, and I don't care what the people have to say. Like, I love
weird.
it. Yeah.
I know she's not like the most exciting, but she
they
would bring
hate
it.
her. They hate her. Like, people
Bad.
really dislike Teddy. Like, I don't get the hate. I don't get it at all.
I don't either.
I don't think there is a housewife that left the franchise 2 or 3 or 4 seasons ago, whenever she left, but still gets spoken about so goddamn much,
Rinna will probably,
I mean, Rinna, yes. Brandy, of course, because she's just Brandy. But yeah, it's like,
it's hard.
I love Brandy. My feelings on Brandy.
I know it's so hard because I from what the whole thing with Caroline too is very God, it's so
I don't
tough.
know. Brandy seems very strong in her opinion that like nothing untoward happened, and like a lot of the housewives agree with her version of events and what happened.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm not jumping on the bandwagon of like of all this hatred towards Brandy. I am waiting and I am seeing what goes down.
That's kind of what that's really what I said at the beginning, because it's like we didn't get our full because Caroline, something happened bad that was just on a level that was bad for Caroline. We know that much. And I also don't find, from what we know of Caroline, I don't find her to be someone that just randomly freaks out over nothing and then is this, I guess I'd say, traumatized. So it's very confusing because the thing is, Caroline's not the one who was throwing any accusation out, is what is interesting. As far as we know, she hasn't publicly been like, well, Brandy did this to me and Brandy did that. She hasn't even said anything. Yeah. So then people are starting to villainize Caroline over it. And I'm like, well, maybe you shouldn't. I don't see any direct quote from her.
It. Yeah. Just keep quiet and wait until it all comes out. We'll see, what transpires, what happens.
Yeah, it's tough. But I was already, before any of that, looking forward to that girls' trip, because I think they're going to be like, just Brandy and Camille. Brandy was saying, she was on Melissa's podcast, Melissa Gorga's On Display podcast, right before they went. And she was like, oh, I'm going to just go the fuck off on Camille. And we know, listen, I used to not mind Camille too terribly much, but her whole thing with supporting Brett Kavanaugh in the Supreme Court and further proving why it was an issue, just even more so having someone so conservative appointed immediately, is we are having to have an extension of abortion rights here in the U.S. For abortion medication to still be accessible to women without it actually being considered illegal for a pharmacist to sell it to someone.
What a fucking disaster.
Right. So that's why I'm like, okay. But sorry, again, I know it's not supposed to be a political podcast, but politics and human rights are two different things to me. You're right. So, and then we've got Heather and Whitney. So here's my thing is like, I very much, certain franchises have a very specific core to what their theme is. And, I've put this in the notes that we're sharing, which is first we had OC, our original. That was the aspiration of what it's like behind the locked gates. What it was based off of Desperate Housewives and the affluent women of like the place where the weather is always gorgeous, just like on Wisteria Lane. Now, once we got Beverly Hills, and I'm not going in the order of how we received things, but once we got Beverly Hills, that was the ultimate extreme affluence. And we got the Hollywood feel. We got the real, like, intense money. And then when it was New York, it was about the very different type of affluent New Yorkers compared to it's East Coast to West Coast. The affluence is vastly different. Completely. Just in the fashion, the way, like, it's East Coast, it's like, I don't know, they're in vintage Saint Laurent, while West Coast is in the latest Saint Laurent. New money, old money is kind of how it goes. Now, when it comes to specifically the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, their theme is religion. And New Jersey, their theme was from the get-go, family. So, which, it was based around Caroline and her family. That was this, that was the center, and then they cast from there. So it's interesting to try and clock exactly where these franchises, when they're mixed in with others, go. And these two, our poor ex-Mormons were just... I mean, it was like no one gave a shit if your name is in the Book of Mormon or not. I mean, they were over it, and I don't blame the girl. I would have been like, okay, your church.
Very quickly. Please. And I don't think half of them, they were over it very quickly. And I don't think half of them had watched Salt Lake. I don't think it had been around long enough to be a franchise that most of them watched. Whereas most of them knew Miami had been around for a long time. So there is a level of like respect that you are going to give Marisol and Alexia. And, Atlanta is Atlanta. Potomac is just had its one of its 8th season or whatever it is. So it's been going strong for a long while. New York has been New York. I mean, so I think Leah, Whitney, and Heather did come in as C players, as lower tier players. They really did.
And Heather knew it.
And I think if you weren't invested in Salt Lake and understood how religion is such a big part of that franchise, you're going to lose interest very quickly in this Mormon bullshit that they're chatting back and forth, I don't mean Mormon as in Mormon bullshit. I mean bullshit as in the conversations that were happening, around what was happening between their relationship and Mormon. Okay, good. Thank you. Don't cancel me.
It's going to cancel you over that. Because also, bearing in mind, as far as I know, you haven't lived in the U.S. for any portion of time. And so Utah, it is a vastly different state from the rest of the states. I would say Utah and Texas are the two places, we're going to throw Florida in there too, are the 3 states here that it is like a different country compared to the rest of, as in the way things are done. And Utah, I mean, you cannot sell alcohol in the same place that I forget exactly what the law is, but it is very particular. It is very difficult to get alcohol in there. Like how she has a speakeasy Whitney does in her home. And because literally to have alcohol there, it's bizarre to me that they even have a housewife who sells tequila. It's really weird, but some restaurants, they have to have a hole in their wall to the place next door so that they can get alcohol from like a bar because you can't have like
Wow.
alcohol and food, I guess, in the same place.
Wow.
I mean, it's really intense.
Wow.
Um, yeah, so it's like it is a different, completely different place. I'm shocked that Heather is able to get marijuana in Utah. She says she smokes it, but I'm like, there's no way it's legal there, and it's not legal federally here. So,
Mm,
I
mm,
mean, it's still
mm.
bizarre to me that some states don't have it, but I know it's also not legal in the UK. But that
Ugh,
being said, it's just
annoying
very
me.
different. Yeah, it's very different. Um, oh God. Okay. And I love, and we got to touch on our star Pepsi. How do you feel about him, Terrence?
So I know like the world is going crazy over Pepsi, but like I never vibed. I'm sorry. I feel like he's a bit of like a man child. I don't know. He gives me like Tom Tom vibes, you know, the Toms. He gives me those like 40-year-old man child vibes. But I think I mentioned it in my notes. Like I am so jealous of those concierges. I would love to be the concierge on the Real Housewives
You would
Ultimate
be
Girls Trip.
amazing.
Cape Town Villains Edition, you know, like my home city in South Africa. Like they've done
Fantastic.
Atlanta Holiday there before. So it's like, you know, the franchise does know South Africa. If anyone is listening to this who has ties, please introduce me, connect me. So I
Yes.
don't know if this is like a deep rooted jealousy that I have against Pepsi and the other concierges, but mm, I'm there for the housewives, not Pepsi.
Right. I so far Pepsi has been my favorite concierge they've had, and I think part of what comes off about the man-child esqueness is because I think to just the country that they are in Thailand, they don't. It's the arguing and the loudness and the
Yeah,
intense like
true. Yeah.
that I think it
Yeah.
just scares them because that's
True
not
that.
normal.
And I don't know what the fuck I would turn into if I was surrounded by eight housewife villains, you know? Like, Lord knows what I would be getting myself
Like
into, you know?
I think I'd just be going back and forth like a tennis match with the
Absolutely. Yeah.
biggest smile on
Yeah.
my face.
That's it. Yeah, completely
I
in
probably
awe.
would have been Heather.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I'd be Heather.
Be like, oh my god, she picked on me.
Yeah.
Oh, it's giving Mean Girls. Like one time she punched me in the face. It was
Yeah,
awesome.
it
Like
was
that was
awesome. Yeah.
totally Heather.
Hilarious. Oops. Hilarious.
Yeah. But that's the thing too. Is like I don't know. I I'm having a hard time because I used to adore Heather, and there are some times where I can so relate to her, and then she'll say some things trying to be cool that like this trip I was like, girl, you do not like when she says to Candace when they were getting in the tuk tuk after the crazy lunch where Giselle was being an infant over her bottle, and Candace says the about some people in the street thinking they recognized Heather, and Heather said because they think I'm Nicole Brown Simpson, which O.J.
It's,
Simpson's wife that he murdered. Are you
but he
fucking
murdered,
for
yes,
real?
who's no longer here.
Why would you say that?
Uh, no, Heather.
Unless
And then
people
she,
told her she looked like her. I don't know.
no, I don't see it.
I don't
I
either.
I don't see it. But also, she said that thing in her confessional about like third world countries and shopping being like her favorite thing or something. And I was
Taking
just like, no,
advantage. Uh-huh.
no,
She
Heather,
loves
yes,
capitalism.
yes. Like I've not seen such a fan turnaround on a housewife as quickly
Mm-mm.
as I have Heather over the course of a season or two. Like it's incredible. I do think that Heather started getting a bit more positive editing as the ends of Ultimate Girls Trip came, like some moments. I think
Yeah.
you put a picture of her confessional picture on the notes because it was just fucking dreadful. What is that napkin thing in front of her
Uh,
face, you know?
you
Um,
know, the colors are pretty on her. I'm gonna say the
colors were
colors are
nice,
nice.
but
But
I
in what
mean,
world is that a good look to be sitting down in? I just,
uh,
I,
you
you
know.
know,
And
I.
I also blame the producer who said yes to that because you know the producers do get ultimate say. So either they were like the fans are gonna hate this, let's give it to them, or they were like just making bad fashion decisions.
Whoever, because I'm sorry, now here's to go along with these confessional looks. I know you are a Leah lover, but that
I am.
confessional look
I love
was
it.
not it for me.
It's so Leah. It's
It
so
is so
Leah.
Leah,
It's so
but
Leah.
It works next to Portia in the pictures that I have here. I liked that they did joint confessionals. That was
With
fun.
Candace.
Oh my God, with Candace, because I have.
Yes.
Bear with me, y'all. It probably
Candace
probably sounded
Candace
terrible that I
looks
mixed them up.
incredible.
But the
No.
pictures I have are literally from the same Instagram photo, and they're like right above each other.
Candace
And I
looks
was looking at,
incredible. She looks
she was
incredible in this
full
photo.
on Madonna.
She
Yeah,
looks amazing.
she
And you
is
know what?
so
Like
Madonna.
as predictable and boring Giselle looks, it's so Giselle. So I wouldn't want to change it. You know?
It's better than she normally looks. I'm
Yeah.
glad to not see the Kelly Clarkson stripes in her hair.
Oh my God! Yes,
And
that
I
was.
loved Portia's look. Oh, she
Yeah,
was
I thought
so
Portia looked. Yeah,
Audrey.
Portia looks
Oh my
great.
God.
Yeah.
So
But no,
beautiful.
I think Candace has really been turning out the confessional looks. I think she's been looking great in her most recent ones from Potomac and Ultimate Girls Trip.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's like the thing with Leah's I I don't know if it's like yeah, it's a lot to be wearing there for me that
Yeah.
and just so y'all know what I'm going to describe the it's like the lightning fire bolts over her boobs made from denim. Just
I love it.
yeah, it is very Leah. It's
So
very
yeah.
like Britney Spears way back when, mixed with like Christina Aguilera. It's like if they had their baby together, that would
Yes,
be
I
the
see
look.
that. Yes, the Christina Aguilera reference is correct. Yes, I see that. Yeah, yeah.
Whitney, I didn't even like save a photo of her look. It was cute. She looked nice.
Oh my
There
God,
was not
Whitney's
much to say.
second one was awful. She just looked like she was going to the supermarket, you know? She looked
Which,
like in her frilly little dress. I was like, huh? This isn't
oh
a
my God, I can't
confessional look,
remember.
Whitney. It was just like her, I think it was her most recent one. Even her hair looked flat. Like just everything looked a bit, ugh. And I was like, Whitney,
Yeah,
this is a confessional. Like normally
look your best.
yeah. And I mean, she looked great. Her makeup was done really well in all of the things. But the outfit choice was just not nice.
You know, and I liked Alexia and Marisol's confessional looks. It seems like Marisol learned from the Miami confessional looks she had, like the bird one and shit. That was crazy. But Alexia was actually wearing that same dress. Okay, was it Ariana or was it Lindsay Hubbard that wore that to one of the award shows? Do you know what I'm talking
Oh
about?
God, no, I won't be able to see that.
I think you're
No,
like Caitlin. Come on,
no.
The pink one that had the sequin. Oh, it looked really cute, and she basically went with the same look. But it's just I don't know why I'm so crazy that I love when I see like housewives wearing the same looks as like Bravo celebrities, I should
And
say,
someone else,
wearing the
yeah,
same.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it just reconfirms the look, which I'm also BravoCon coming up. I'm already being a psycho about like what the hell am I going to wear because it is also the weekend of like are they going to be celebrating Halloween in Vegas that weekend? It's Vegas. Number one, number two. Please don't tell me I have to pack a costume. God damn it. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
I know.
yes.
It's like
So much to be
right.
packing for. Yeah.
A lot to unpack and pack up all at the same time. Um. Okay, so I feel like not a ton really like happened in the first episode. That I feel like that's why they kind of dumped the first 3 episodes for us a bit, and it's always so much as a Bravo content creator, and now also Bravo podcaster. Can't talk. Um, when they do this, it's like exciting as a fan, but it's like, oh my God.
There's a lot to get through now. I have 3 episodes. Yeah, and I think
Yes.
with Ultimate Girls Trip, season 2 started with such a bang, and season 1 was new. It was fresh. So almost like
Hmm.
Salt Lake City, like season 1 was fresh, season 2 was a bang. Jen Shah was arrested, and then season 3 came along, and we had these expectations that just it was a bit too argumentative for me. I would have liked to have seen a bit more fun. Don't get me wrong, I love the fucking Ultimate Girls Trip franchise. I will watch it come rain, come shine. But out
Yes.
of the 3, it definitely is in third place running right now.
Hmm.
For me, season 2 was top tier. Season 1 was
So good.
incredible, and now we've got season 3. But yeah, it's. I think there are going to be seasons in the future where we have some great seasons, and then like one season where it just doesn't gel.
Yeah.
Maybe at a different time, some of these housewives would have gelled a bit more better. If Leah was maybe
Hmm.
in a different place, if Heather and Whitney had moved on from some of their shit, it might have been a bit more fun. So I think it's also got to do with timing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it would be wise of them to consider throwing people like Lindsay Hubbard into the mix. But the problem is, she wouldn't be able to have an ally because she doesn't have any allies even on her own show anymore.
On her own show, yeah.
Yeah. Throwing people, I would love to see them throw some people from Shaw's, from Family Karma, from, just bring.
I'd love to see a Gigi on an Ultimate Girls Trip.
Oh my God, could you imagine?
I can, and I love it.
Get Gigi and MJ on there, okay?
Yeah. Miss that duo.
Yes, that would be. I think that'd be great. I think they need to just kind of branch that out some.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm sure there are plans to do something around, even international housewives, other Bravo TV shows. Like they really can go so many different ways. Peacock.
Something other than putting them on Traitors.
Yeah.
With Ryan Lochte. Oh boy. Yeah. So no, you know what? I met him many years ago when I was in Los Angeles. It's a funny story. I didn't know who he was at all. He wasn't known then, and I guess he was there for the SB Awards, and he like saved me when I was at a club one night. Where was I at? Supper Club, and no, I forget. And some random guy, like I'm trying to just walk over to the bathroom, like literally picks me up and starts dragging me over to his table. I'm like, can someone help me? And
yes.
Ryan came over and helped me. And we were in touch while he was in town and stuff. But yeah, anyway, he's plenty nice, but I then like my friend was like, do you know who that is? I'm like, no. I wouldn't. Why would I know who an Olympic swimmer? Random. Anyway, so it's kind of funny, like what ended up happening with him. This was well before Rio and all of that.
Okay, before all of the things.
Yes, I had plenty of excuse not to have any clue who he was. Okay, so I've always heard, and we've seen Giselle really can be such a producer. She really was working hard at producing this trip. And yes, it was needed, but sometimes it was like,
I know she needed to step back. There were times when she needed to just let it play out, like get off some of the housewives back a bit and just let the storylines play out like nothing, or let someone else take the driving seat. You don't always have to be the driver of storylines, And I've said it before, like if Giselle does get fired or let go, like there is a job for her in housewives production companies. Like Giselle can absolutely be hired as a producer for these kind of shows. I mean, I don't want to see her leaving the franchise. Please stay. But yeah, there were times on Ultimate Girls Trip where she really did need to just
step back,
be a cast member.
Yeah, because she's really getting herself into a lot of hot water lately. And also, there were a lot of things that bled into this trip, especially her accusing Candace more than anyone of stealing the bottle, which was so stupid. Now, sorry, friends, we're just going to be a little bit all over the place because there was so much to cover. I couldn't, there's no way. We would be sitting here for 4 hours, and we just cannot do that. So, the alcohol of it all, with Heather first, again, saying the stuff about, let's get Leah drunk. Oh, my God. She is, she was sober for, years in the teens, 13, 16 years or something, and then with Marisol and her drinking, and Marisol saying to Leah, oh, I think you'd be more fun if you just had a cocky. Yeah, I'm sure it would be, but she would.
She can't. She would relapse, absolutely. And she would have to start from day one all over again. It's a lot bigger than I think a lot of these women gave Leah credit for.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard enough, I would think, to be there as a sober person. It's one thing, I don't know, like when you're pregnant and you can't drink, there's an end in sight. And that, okay, well, I'm not enjoying this event. There will be another event that I'll get to have a glass of wine at. But this is never ending for her. So that they really were not sensitive at
No,
all.
and they had been privy to Leah's storyline, because I think Marisol or Alexia, one of them, had said, oh, your first season, I remember you were so fun, you had been drinking, but season 2, you clearly got to see the reasons as to why she had stopped drinking and her struggle with maintaining sobriety. So to say to someone, oh, maybe you should just have a drink, or you'd be funnier or better to hang around with if you were drunk, knowing full well how she has struggled with sobriety over the years, it was just really mean and disrespectful.
I agree. And
Yeah.
Marisol, girl, if you do not have cirrhosis of the liver
Oh my
or
God, her poor liver ulcers, all of the things. Like honestly,
yes.
she is ingesting so much fucking booze.
I mean, listen, it's one thing like when you're just on vacation. If this were isolated, I might have a slightly different opinion, but I don't know, man. Like I usually am of the belief you either should, if you want to have a drink, make it either daytime or make it nighttime. Uh, but she is
She
morning,
starts
she's
early. Yeah,
noon, she's
yeah.
night.
Yeah. And just because you own it doesn't mean that it's any less of a problem, you know?
Right.
Just because you can verbalize that you drink a lot and it's like, no one's challenging you because it's an open dialogue, doesn't make it any less of an issue. Like, it's,
Yeah.
and her fucking slurping confessionals. Like, I'm so over that Diamante fucking tumbler, at a Starbucks cup and her
Yes.
straw slurp. Like, other housewives have done it in the franchise before you came along and did it in Miami, and it was way more iconic. It's now just
Yeah.
done.
Do it it's once in a while.
It's
That's what
once a
makes
season
it.
and a half.
Yes,
Yeah,
and it seems like she was trying to brand from what she was saying. Like, I think she's probably going to come out with some sort of
yeah, that's exactly what
alcohol.
it's about. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And like, I don't know. I wouldn't want to
This is
drink
the
her
wrong
alcohol from what
way
I've
to
seen of
be.
it.
But it's also the wrong way to be promoting your alcohol brand is to like associate it with like your open alcoholism.
She's a functioning alcoholic. Because
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
listen, I love my wine. Y'all have seen me have wine on this podcast, all of it. But at the same time, I don't know. I just there's a certain point where you just kind of have to say there might be an issue if you get a stomach ache and you're not able to keep going on throughout your day
Hmm.
without it. Because and then also on top of that, another thing Heather says to Leah and Candace on the yacht is that I have plenty of friends that are alcoholics and I'm funneling them drinks. And it was like, what?
Your
What?
face, exactly that. Huh? Yeah, yeah.
I,
Couldn't also I could not believe that Heather had verbalized that.
I mean, what? It's so bizarre. It's so
Yeah.
bizarre. I don't know what's going on with Heather. It's like she's off her rocker with something. I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah, I
I'm
feel like we're really starting to see like we're starting to see Heather, like her relationship with Jen always confused me, and like the level of support that she had for her. And it's like we're starting to see aspects of Heather that make that all make sense. Like certain things that Heather says, and you're like, oh, okay. So
Mhm.
I get it now. This
Right.
is the persona that you are, and who. Because let's face it. One season is not enough time to get to know who a housewife is.
No.
We need that second, third season, and the more we're seeing of Heather, the more we're like, oh, oh, oh,
Yeah.
maybe don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
Mm.
don't know what season 4 of Salt Lake City is going to bring for her. It's either going to change the tide back to fan fave, or she's going to be a not well liked housewife.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was so funny because when she said that to Leah and Candace, and she's they basically say to her that you're supportive, a supportive friend to a fault, and even to your friend's detriment, you support them. And Leah and Heather, Heather was like, "Yeah, absolutely. You've seen my friendships with Jen." And
Yeah.
and Leah just looks at her and goes, "Are you in therapy?" I thought
Hilarious.
the same thing. I mean,
See?
it's
Yeah.
literally what we're all thinking. Like, are you working on that?
God, I love Leah.
It just cracked me up. Um, I have to say one more thing that you and I both. When Leah gets up on the yacht and she goes to the bathroom and she comes back and she's like, great. You guys stressed me out enough that I started my period. And Candace says to them, y'all bullied her. Y'all bullied her into menstruation. I was like, why is no one talking about this?
You are right. Not enough people are speaking about that quote. I haven't seen enough memes coming out about that.
But then it was pretty funny. Like when Marisol was like, who gets their period anymore? It's so 80s.
That was such a reflection of Marisol as well, that comment.
Oh, that just, I don't know. And I loved the editing on this because they went ahead and they were like, we are not going to let this ridiculous, like, round and round and round after round of fighting be serious, because it was pretty funny. And this is where I loved Giselle being the producer that she is here. When they were in the middle, where the little snowflakes, Heather and Whitney are going back and forth about this. Again, I'm not saying the Mormon stuff is stupid, but I'll also explain further why the book is such a big deal and how I know that. But when Giselle says to Whitney that, because this is the way I took it as well, when Whitney and Heather had their initial fight, that, Heather wasn't backing her up on this, blow jobs for basketball tickets thing, that it was because Whitney was mad because Heather wouldn't lie for her and say she heard it. Heather would have loved to say she heard that. It's Heather. Yeah. She loves a good gossip.
Absolutely.
Now, the Mormon book thing, and this is the last I hope we talk about. Mormon, religious frustrations and arguments. I don't even know what to call it anymore. So I had a co-host on this podcast originally. Her name's Kate, and she was Mormon. And I was like, what is the big deal about, when we were watching Whitney signing this thing? Like, who cares if your name is on this registry or not? And I guess with the Mormon religion, and this was her explanation to me, this was on the podcast many, many episodes ago. So I did not Google this. I apologize. I probably should have. I'm going off of just what I was told. Is that essentially it is believed that if your name is not in the Book of Mormon, when you get to heaven, because I guess Mormons don't necessarily believe in hell, when you get to heaven, your family will not recognize you. And you will not be able to recognize your family. So you will be in the same place and you won't know who the other is.
What?
That was the way yeah. So if Heather doesn't want to remove her name from it.
Bullshit. I mean, it's so stupid. Really, come on now, people.
So that's what they're arguing about. And Whitney's saying, well, that's them being able to say that you are a supporter of legislation. I don't know what Mormon legislation is happening. Because I'm not sure that if my name is a part of a church, like a Christian church, let's say, that I don't know. I don't think it has anything to do with the politics of anything that church might support. And the church is supposed to be separate from state anyway. So I'm not sure I get what Whitney is going on about. But if you want them to leave you alone, fine. If you just are trying to get the do not subscribe, like the unsubscribe to everything, fine, I get it. Do whatever you got to do. But she's making it a bigger deal, I think, than it needs to be. Whitney just needs to find something else.
I think it's because Whitney went through that process. She had a level of expectation that Heather would be doing the same thing. And when that didn't happen, but alongside Heather selling Mormonism in a sense for her book and all of that stuff, I think Whitney was a bit like, are you not going to ask to be removed? And Heather is like, no.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't know. Would it really be that big of a deal if someone still had me subscribed to a Christian church if I were like, oh, I wrote a book about being a bad Christian? I don't know. Mormonism is very.
I think for me personally, if I was signed up, I mean, I'm not religious. I don't practice religion in any sense. But if I was religious and left that religion for some traumatic enough reason, as these both seem to say, I
Right.
personally would not want to be associated in any capacity. And I would do a Whitney and I would ask for that but I'm bitter like that. I am a bitter Betty. Maybe Heather can just move on, and still have her name associated and just not care. Whereas I'm a bit like Whitney. I want you to know that I am
Yeah.
leaving this church. Like my name is off those records and I'm out of here. So
Yeah.
maybe it's just different people,
For different
different
people.
things,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think maybe it's just that Whitney needs to go. Maybe it's a different process for other people, just like we're
Yeah.
saying here,
Yeah. Yeah.
Man. So, okay. Now, we're just going back here. My notes got really all over the place. So bear
Mm-hmm.
with me a
Me
little
too.
bit, friends.
Mm.
Whenever we get to like Portia's game day. Oh my God. So yeah, the poor Leah. I I don't think Portia really put that much thought into it. And it was just like, oh, she was
Of
just
course.
thinking of the names and it
Yeah.
ended up just being funny because also I was saying a lot, oh my God, poor Leah, like throughout this season. So it was funny. Um,
I really loved the name game, like when they all were given names. I thought that was hilarious. I laughed. I'm not going to be able to remember all of the names off the top of my head, but
yeah,
what was
she
the
need a
whole like
man.
Shanita Man?
I think
That's
that's the only
it.
one I can remember right now.
Shanita Man, She Take a Man. What was the other
Yes.
one? Yeah, for Portia was She Take a Man. Giselle was Shanita Man. And I just thought, like Candace, I tell you, Caitlin, like season 8 of Potomac and Ultimate Girls Trip season 3, like
Yeah.
Candace has cemented herself as one of my favorite housewives across the
Love her.
franchise. Like, I was never an early adopter of Candace, but like the more
Right.
I've seen of Candace, the more I fucking love her.
She is so good. I
Yeah,
mean,
she's great.
uh, listen, I know that we have some very intelligent housewives across the franchises. We have some that aren't. I I feel that Candace just talks circles around everyone. Everyone. The mere fact that you could see, I was cracking up when Giselle. This is the only part that made me laugh of this because I thought it was horrific that Giselle was so targeted, Oh my gosh, my words today are failing me. It's Mercury in retrograde. That's
Name
all I
it.
could do. that that Giselle kept targeting Candace of all people for taking this stupid Casa Azul bottle, right? Well, when Candace said you are accusing me of larson, you could see Giselle's wheels turning, thinking she said arson, and she said larceny, and she and you could just tell that it didn't even click with her
No,
that
don't
is
click with her. Yeah,
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 that
yeah.
there are different legal terms for stealing. It's like because I don't know, it could have been petty theft. Okay, whatever. But that did crack me up because it was listen, and Candace knows she
And
has
just the way
that on her.
Candace said it, you are accusing me of larceny. Like it's just the way
Yeah.
Candace said it is so iconic, so good. But that
She
fucking bottle, oh,
I swear to
uh,
God. I even made a
uh,
meme of it where it's like she literally sounded like my toddler the second he gets up in the morning. Where's my bottle? I want my damn bottle. I
honestly,
want my
yeah,
bottle. I want my bottle.
like fine for an episode, but like then let it go. Like at this
We have a
point, let
presentation.
it that fucking presentation, Jesus, that when she came out with that presentation and the fact that like Pepsi was supporting this and encouraging this type of behavior, I was like, no,
I think
I
he
don't want
I
this
think he was just
storyline.
like trying to stay out of the line of fire at that
Just
point
saying
because
yes at this point too. Yeah. What do
yes.
you need? Yes, yes.
Yeah, God. I think he was scared of her at this point. Um, I God. And again, poor Leah being so sick. Listen, I'm going to say I did empathize with her. Um, you know, if
Yeah.
she she has PMDD. Now, I know you came on here to talk about periods. But
Love
like
it. Fill me in
you,
with all the
it's your
knowledge.
favorite. Yes. That is something that not only affects your moods, you get terrible cramps. I have been diagnosed with endometriosis, which you can only have surgery to be officially diagnosed with it. It's terrible. And I used to get like Y'all, so sick. I mean, in junior high,
Mm,
I'd be vomiting
mm.
and I'd faint and all of it. So she's not exaggerating if she experiences those type of symptoms at all. And she also has bipolar disorder. So if that she has PMDD, bipolar disorder,
Yeah,
she's
there's a
sober
lot.
and she doesn't
Yeah,
feel well.
yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I'd want to go home.
Listen, Caitlin. If you take away the PMDD, the BPD, the menstruation stuff, if I was shitting myself and vomiting in a place like Thailand where it was so fucking hot, that is enough to turn me into an incredible dickhead. So to then add on like the bipolar, the menstrual stuff, like my fucking god, if I want to walk around with no panties, I will walk around with no panties.
Yeah, do and honestly, for if anyone is so ignorant that they think that's not a possibility that she could do that, give me a break. It is she could do that. Would I do it? No. Okay, that's all I'm gonna. I would not feel comfortable doing that. I'd be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
this is not the time to do that.
Yeah.
But she did crack me up so much when they get her stood up again because I mean, yeah, and she stands up again and I still wanted to buy a few more things.
So
Yes, girl.
good. You buy those
Yes.
things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do it. Do the shopping. And so also, okay, and again we're all over the place, but it is what it is. Portia not tagging Leah and Candace in this photo at the elephant sanctuary.
Mm,
Was it cyberbullying? No, Candace, my love, it
mm,
was not cyberbullying,
no,
but
it
it
wasn't.
was being an asshole on
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah. It
Like,
was making
it
an
was rude.
executive decision to be a dickhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only time I don't tag someone is A, if I can't find them on social media, B, they don't allow me to tag them, or C, no one
Yeah.
wants to be tagged. That's just
Yeah.
kind of just
Yeah.
rude. God.
Yeah.
And it's stirring up shit. And listen, Candace called exactly how Portia was going to be about it. She was like, "What? It's my account. I can tag whoever the hell I want to." Yes, that is
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But at the same time, y'all know how dramatic it is if you unfollow someone. Everybody sees it. Everyone's on top
Yeah.
of your shit like that. And
Straight
y'all know
away.
it.
Straight away. And the one thing, I mean, Portia's got millions of followers now, so it's like her
Hmm.
fan base will pick up on who she is or isn't tagging. And in turn, unfortunately, there are some keyboard warriors out there who would then
Oh,
go
yeah.
after Candace and Leah just because Portia didn't tag them.
It
So they are going to
making,
get a
yeah.
certain amount of, trolling because of that. But was it cyberbullying? No.
Yeah, wouldn't call it that
No.
either.
Yeah.
And Whitney's really like hung up on like how that Heather's two-faced and all of that. I'm sorry, but if I were Heather, I wouldn't have been ready to say I want to throw my bowl of soup at you across the
Mm,
table either.
mm,
I
mm,
probably would
mm.
have gotten
Yeah.
I would have been like in the van saying it, but I do appreciate that Heather did eventually say that to
Yeah.
Giselle. And in
Yeah.
Candace's words, her balls dropped.
It was
Got it.
nice. Yeah, maybe Heather will learn something from this trip, and that's that she can have an opinion. She can have a very strong opinion, and she can not agree
Hmm.
with another housewife, and she can stand up. Maybe season 4 she'll be different. Who knows? Let's see if she learns anything from Ultimate Girls Trip.
Yeah. Yeah, because this is something that we were kind of about to touch on, and I got us sidetracked as usual. Um,
Mm,
how they apparently went immediately, and I think it was the same thing for the Potomac girls, from filming at both Salt Lake and Potomac. They hadn't even had their reunion yet to hash out anything from their season, so it's like
mm, mm.
they needed, I don't know, because it's just
It was
airing
the
it
same
now.
as
We're tired of it.
it was the same as yeah, and it was the same as what are the names? Oh my God, who am I talking about here? Giselle and Candace. Candace did say that they came for Ultimate Girls Trip after they had filmed season 8, but before it started airing. So although she had kind of in a way come full circle with Giselle by the end of filming for season 8, it hadn't yet aired and they hadn't done the reunion. So
Mm-hmm.
Candace went into it feeling like Giselle wasn't someone that I should be fully trustworthy of, but they were traveling together. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
when you're traveling with someone, you feel like you automatically both look out for each other, because you're traveling together. So it's
Yeah.
like Candace had this like push-pull feeling of like wanting to try and build a better relationship with Giselle, but knowing full well what they had just experienced filming season 8.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. It just they need to look at the timing a little bit better on things, which I know that must be like insane trying to get everyone who has an opening in their schedule and things like that. I totally get that. But at the same time, they either need to have a talk with them beforehand, like,
Mm.
look, if you
Mm.
want to talk about
Mm.
something from your season, fine, but
Mm.
you need to make it
Yeah.
quick
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
because then they're
Absolutely. Quick and move
explaining to
the
the other
Yeah.
housewives.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just
Yes,
becomes a whole
and
thing
it's
it doesn't
also
need to be.
most of the time it's shit that we've fucking seen. So it's like I don't want to rehash something that we've already put to bed. You know, it's like I
Exactly.
like progression in this franchise. I like housewives
Yes,
moving on. You know, I hate seeing stuff rehashed.
exactly. Then lots of big thoughts about this. Alexia saying, oh my God, about worrying about Whitney's children eventually seeing her smoking weed on television. And it's so funny. You and I had the
Honestly.
same thoughts. I'm going to just leave this here. As I was tweeting out immediately. I'm like, not cocaine cowboys Alexia asking Whitney Rose about letting her kids eventually see her smoking weed on TV. Was Alexia smoking weed or doing coke or selling coke or whatever on TV? No. But then her husband, her ex-husband, I can't believe Bravo allowed him on our, or I can't believe Peacock, whoever we're holding responsible for this. Y'all, you even linked it here. I need to tap the link, if it'll work on my iPad.
Yeah, it's
Um,
his like mugshot picture, his sentencing, how long he was in jail for, all of the things. Like
mhm,
you might not have had any children when you met him, but you had two fucking children with him, which is
mhm.
maybe even worse. You know, it's like you made the conscious decision to have children with this man. And it is, can we say on this podcast why he went to jail?
Yeah, so here's your trigger warning about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Here's the trigger warning. Yeah, Terrence, you go ahead and say it because you
So
found the.
yeah, he went. It was 2008 that he was sentenced to, I want to say, 12 years for aggravated sexual assault and battery of a minor. Like that's for
Bad.
me, that is something that I would never get over. Once you have done your prison sentence, I still want no part of your life in any capacity. And I would
None.
most likely discourage my children from building a relationship with you, mostly because of the fact that the person involved with this is a minor, you know,
Under
is
15
someone.
is what I believe it was.
Absolutely. Yes, that's it. It's
Mhm.
under 15 in this state. It's a minor is someone under 15. Um, and so honestly, so
Just
it's like
gross.
firstly, Alexa, like you're coming from you live in a state that's like don't say gay. So it's like to pull so to pull someone up on like
Big deal.
smoking weed and then to like you're smoking weed on TV in a country where it's legal to smoke weed. You bought it from a shop legally on camera, you
Hmm.
know. So it's like, why is drinking a glass of wine on TV in front of your children okay? Like from
Why
my
is it more
experience,
acceptable?
Caitlin, like alcohol tends to cause a lot more problems than weed.
From the research we have, yes, that is
And
true.
let's look. This is looking at you, Peter Rossello, who likes to get drunk and beat up homeless men, Alexia's son. So it's like, okay, Alexia,
Yeah.
okay,
I mean,
Teresa 2.0.
yes.
Yeah,
It is just, yeah, it is
yeah.
so hypocritical. It is so like, and I know she ends up apologizing to Whitney about it in the only way Alexia apologizes, because she doesn't. She gives non-apologies, right? Same way
Exactly.
Teresa does.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
basically, I'm sorry you
I'm
were so
sorry.
offended by that.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
it.
But for me, yeah, it's just uh.
I, you know, I, the thing with this season overall is the fact that our biggest thing coming from it was what actually happened to the Casa Azul bottle, and we finally find out.
Oh my god, I was not expecting that, Caitlin. The way the producers just dropped that in at the end, I thought it would be one of the great mysteries. Like, where did that fucking bottle go? And then to just hear like Heather and Whitney casually be like,
Yeah. They're like, first of all, Whitney, you're a damn good liar too. I don't know what
yeah,
the hell you think you're trying to pull
yeah,
over our eyes
yeah,
regarding Heather, but
yeah,
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 you are a pretty damn good liar yourself.
yeah. Loved it.
Um, yeah, it was so they had it out in the outdoor shower and were taking shots of it. I would have been shitting
Hilarious.
myself if I had someone grilling me like that. I've been like, Uh, yeah, because also Whitney ran in as fast as she could to quote unquote emergently pee when they got back from that lunch. You know
She
she
was
was moving
moving
into the
that bottle.
shower.
Yeah, there we go. But I just loved how like we didn't know through the whole investigations, and it was just only at the end where it was just like so casually brought in, and then Leah gives it to Candace. Like I just, yeah, I thought the whole thing was, it was so lovely to see that ending.
Yes, we had our full circle moment, and Giselle
Yeah,
ended up looking a bit like a clown because I think
yeah,
that was
yeah.
Giselle's colorism bleeding into this
Yeah,
season of Girls
yeah,
Trip,
agreed.
accusing
Yeah, yeah.
Candace. Why
And
would
her
Candace
disdain
take
for
it?
Candace. Yeah. Like, but also it was
Yeah.
like the room searching for me. I'm sorry, but I would
Oh my
have taken
god.
probably Candace's stance. And even if I haven't stolen your fucking bottle, like, it's just the principle of it. Like, I will not
Yes.
let you search my room just because you've told me you want to. Like, it's my room. It is
Yeah.
my personal belongings. I'm not having you rummage through it. Like, when we get back, maybe I'll be open to taking a producer through my room, and showing them my things.
Yeah.
But the way that Giselle demanded, I would have had the same reaction as Candace. Not today, Nick.
Yes. Yeah, with those
Yeah.
stovepipe legs. I mean,
Yeah.
no, we're not body shaming here, but
No.
it was really funny that she said that. But no, I would have been the exact same way. I would have been the exact same way. I'd have been like, look, I either you can do it with me, and if we're gonna go through my things, I'm gonna be there and I will show you because I
Yeah.
don't want you
Yeah.
ruffling up my
Yeah.
shit because I have
Yeah.
things in a place I need them to be in. And also, like,
Yeah.
sometimes if you're on a trip and you're, especially doing your makeup, doing your hair, you're running, like, if you have to be somewhere on time, sometimes your room gets to be a mess. And maybe I don't want a camera in my room for that. If I'm telling you I didn't take it, why won't you take
That's
my word
it.
for it?
Yeah, for
Exactly
sure.
like Candace said.
Yeah.
She's known her long
Yeah.
enough.
That's it.
The
Yeah.
oh, it was so
Yeah. Yeah.
dumb.
Yeah.
But I'm
Agreed.
glad the bottle's over with. We're done with the bottle.
So
You
glad
know,
we don't have to carry on the story of what happened to the bottle. I'm so glad we got that closure.
the bottle became the new black eye. I just,
Yeah.
you know, it really did. Um,
Yeah.
and just overall, I feel like I'm worried about Salt Lake City. We'll see what happens there. If that's what they're going
Yeah.
to be, the energy they're bringing, we're all going to be tired and over it. Alexia and Marisol, they didn't do a ton throughout the trip except, be a little bit hypocritical sometimes. But
They didn't do a
yeah,
lot.
it's,
They were like supporting cast members for this. They were
mhm,
like the supporting cast. They were like the friends of, essentially. They didn't get
yeah.
too much screen time. Yeah, they were nice supporting cast.
Yeah, we do like we were talking about before. We do need that. Now there was only one more thing. Am I crazy that I thought Leah left early?
So that's what everyone had said while the filming was like happening, and then between then and now it airing. Like, I think the rumors must have got misconstrued from when she went to ER and was basically away for a day. Like, she left to go to the ER. I think that
Yeah.
got misconstrued, and then before we knew it, the story had been spun that she left the cast trip early. But no, she was there until the last day. And I was very pleased to see that. I'm pleased for us. I'm pleased for Leah that she did the whole
Yeah.
trip. I'm pleased that she wanted to do the final night dinner. I really hope that this is not the last time we see Leah on a Bravo TV show. I would
Mm,
love her coming back in a better mindset when she feels better, healthier, like
mm,
body is doing all of the things she wants it to do. And maybe it's just surrounding her by the right type of woman for Leah.
mm-hmm.
Maybe women that had also only done a season or two rather than like these proper OGs.
Yeah, listen, I wouldn't hate it if they had her and Julia Fox on Roni.
Yes,
Um,
I
they
would be
they
open
were
to this idea. Yeah.
yeah, they were an interesting duo on Watch What Happens Live because
Yeah.
Julia Fox, I don't know, she's like an alien. She's out of this world.
She's just
She's
interesting to
different.
watch full stop. Like, it's, to have her on a Housewives confessional, I'd fucking love it.
Oh my god, it'd be crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just kind of it may be better for Leah not to be on though if she gets that affected by it.
No, for sure. Yeah,
I
I can appreciate that. Yeah.
yeah, because I know I sure
Yeah.
as shit would be losing my mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we've all said and done that we just don't think we could do that show. That's intense.
No.
But yeah, good season. I'm really looking forward to season 4. And we've got a big week ahead with more Vanderpump coming up, and I guess what are we going to do with Thursdays now? Oh my God, we don't have Girls Trip.
No, it's
We
very
have less
disappointing that we've got
content.
one Housewives franchise going on at the moment. We only have New Jersey airing. I mean, there's also Cheshire, and let me tell you, the Real Housewives of Cheshire is having an incredible season. Season 15 is great. I would, Caitlin, if you haven't
Thank you
watched
very
Cheshire,
much.
I would just ignore the last 5 seasons and just jump straight into season 15. They seem
Okay.
to have got themselves into a really good stride now with a really great group of women, and
Okay.
it started off so well. But in the US, I think you can watch it on. Did you get Hey You?
I I see
Or
them all over
okay,
social media. I'm going to
so
look.
TubiTV.app is free in America, and there's loads of
Okay.
internationals on Tubi, and it's free. I don't believe you have to pay for it. And then
Great.
Discovery Plus, which I know you have to pay for, has some franchises as well, internationals.
Discovery
So I think
Plus does.
yes, or Paramount, one of the two. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm so
Then
bad with the
probably
US online platforms.
might be Paramount.
I'm sure I've
Was
seen
Paramount?
people say, because loads of people ask on my TikTok page where they can watch the internationals, and then other people
Yeah.
will say, "Oh, you can watch it here, there," and I'm sure I've seen Paramount.
Yeah, that would make sense too.
Have you ever watched Melbourne, Caitlin?
I have not, and I have heard
Honestly,
it is
okay, so
hilarious.
it's on Tubi TV. You can watch it for free. You need
Hmm.
to start Melbourne.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just for
love
some,
it. Oh,
because now that
sorry,
it's
I
like
almost
actually,
fell off my chair.
oh my God.
Oops.
Glad you didn't.
Yeah, me too.
um, not, I really have heard that Melbourne is like amazing. So,
Yeah, it's top tier.
I need to, especially while things are slowed down for like a second.
Yeah,
We always get a
well, we have a bit
millisecond.
of time. Yeah,
Yes. Well, I think we'll wrap here. It's always so fun having you on, Terrence. Thank you for joining. Be sure and check out his podcast. Remember,
thank
friends,
you.
it is Chronicles of Bravo is the podcast, and then on TikTok it's
Bravo
Bravo.
Bravo
What?
Chronicles is TikTok and the podcast.
Okay. See,
Yeah.
because the
We just
TikTok.
blame Jen Shah, Caitlin. That's what you have to do every time you get confused. This is all her fault.
Gladly.
So fuck her.
I
Yeah.
I blame
But
Jen
thanks for
Shaw for a
having.
lot of things.
There we go. But thanks for having me again. I always love chatting to you
Yes.
and chatting like Bravo TV stuff.
So much fun. All
Yeah.
right, friends. I will see you next week and go check out Terrence and you enjoy your
Thank
Sunday.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.